You have 12 voice messages. First voice message.
Hey, Carl, this is Ronnie calling from Dr. Clark's office. We just got the results of your blood work, and there's some critical results that Dr. Clark wants to go over with you. If you could stop by the office as soon as possible, that'd be great. Thanks.
Everybody has a story to tell, but most never live long enough to ever tell it. And most people don't even want to hear it unless it's about somebody famous. But this is my story, an ordinary, everyday brother living amongst everyday people like me. And some people might wonder, what makes your story so special? And I reply, because I'm blessed to be here to be able to tell it, in my own words, from my own perspective. And mostly for those who came up on the music and the chapters of the Charm City era, to let the world know who we are and who will forever be. This is about us.
Oh, hey, Carl.
Hey, what's up, Ronnie?
How you been, buddy?
Good. I didn't know you was gonna be here, man.
Oh, yeah, my friend.
I got a call from Dr. Clark. You know who that is?
Yeah, Dr. Clark.
Yeah.
Dr. Clark, he's
You know-
good.
Yeah, you know what he was calling me for? He said something urgent.
Let me take a peek through here real quick, Carl. And he's gonna be in a minute. It won't take too long.
Okay, is it serious?
But just so you know, Dr. Clark's the best. Just between you and me, he knows his shit.
Really?
Really. So you're in good hands.
That's good to know, man. I don't know what the hell it could be.
Yeah. I'll send him right in. Good to
All
see
right.
you again, though.
Hey Carl, how you doing, man?
Hey, Dr. Clark.
How are things going today?
Man, I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of nervous about your call, man. You know?
No need to be nervous. No need to be nervous. You feeling okay today?
Yeah, I've been alright. Just been going through some stuff. Just take care of my boys and stuff. You know, one of my boys with autism. You know,
Yeah.
so just taking care of him and stuff. But other than that, I've been alright.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. Based on the test that you got. The main thing that I was concerned about, I just want to know when's the last time you had your kidneys checked out?
Honestly, Doc, it's been a minute because I've been taking care of my boys. I've been doing the testing on them and stuff, so I haven't really gotten them checked since I've been out of the military like 10 years ago. I've just been doing my music and stuff, but other than that, since my divorce, I ain't really been able to check nothing. So
Well, your kidneys are really important to your health, and if you don't take care of them, a lot of bad things can happen. There's a lot of people that end up on dialysis and in bad shape if their kidneys aren't working the way they should.
Yeah, I hear you, man, but I guess it's. I mean, I know it's important and stuff, but I should be getting them checked, but I don't know. I mean, I need to, but I've just been so afraid of being on dialysis, and then with my boys and stuff, and then my divorce, man. I mean, I don't really know what to do at this point. I don't even know how bad it is for me right now. So I mean, is it that bad now where I might lose my kidneys or something?
Well, your kidneys aren't that critical. I don't think you're at the point where you need dialysis.
Okay.
But they're not normal.
Right.
So I think, trying to keep yourself healthy, keep yourself in shape, going to the gym, making sure you're eating right, all those things are going to help us to help you keep you off of dialysis and going down that road.
Okay.
I know your boys are a lot to take care of, so if there's anything we can do, offer you any resources or anything like that to help you out, just let me know.
All right, Doc. All right, appreciate it.
You're welcome, absolutely.
All right. House music is healing. When the unexpected, tragic, and devastating pains of life overwhelmingly suffocate us. And since life's rhythm is a heartbeat through each breath we take in our everyday walk of life, the asphyxiation of life's sudden tragedies that we face often throw the course of our lives off rhythm, leaving us in a state of limbo, having to start from scratch. And when that happens, you just gotta get away. But that can be dangerous sometimes because isolation is most often the cause of depression and suicide. Camouflage is just randomly being antisocial or just wanting your alone time. And it's often been said that an idle mind is a playground for the devil, but an isolated mind full of troubles is just an internal clock ticking time bomb waiting to detonate, where the destruction derives from excessive work as a distraction from facing the terrifying reality of your greatest fear, which is never truly finding peace in this chaotic world. And sadly, a lot of people have died before ever having a chance to find it. And for those who have found it, they died before ever having a chance to embrace it.
Look at this one right here. Ooh, that was a pretty old sweet baby right there.
That's good here. Yeah, I know.
There was one picture in there. Justin thought it was Jayla. Let me show you that picture. Justin said, "That's Jay. That's Jayla."
Oh, really?
There's a picture. Where that page at?
House music is family. A father to the fatherless and a mother to the motherless. A friend to those who feel alone and a confidant to those who need someone to confide in. It's that warm feeling of grandma's hug and that peaceful feeling of serenity sleeping on granddaddy's living room sofa.
We're missing something here.
That's like somebody told him, who's that weird, your crazy ass brother? Yeah. He went to the lake, he did this to the, he was up there. I
ain't got no page numbers. I didn't get under that.
So the next time she'll see me, she'll come over there and do the same.
Justin, who is that?
That's your daddy.
So house music is many things to many different people for many different reasons. But one thing that house music is for everyone, house music is a bridge of benevolence, connecting to a haven for all hearts to have.
I know that's because that's why I said that's him as a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't really know where to start, but I guess if I had to, start somewhere as far as like, what inspired me to do the House Nation Charm City era documentary. Primarily, what inspired me to do it was the fact that I felt like there was a need to actually talk about, not just the culture of house music, because obviously house music has a very wide range culture worldwide, with Chicago being the foundation of where house music really started. I could name names, you know what I mean, but I want to make sure that I get the research right, as far as the names go. So what I did was I just basically I saw a documentary about house music on YouTube, and it was talking about producers like Fast Eddie. It was talking about a lot of guys that I actually grew up listening to, as far as house music, which Fast Eddie was considered the creator of hip house. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop and house music put together, which was pretty much just something that amazed me. But house, as far as house music, is really, what I was taught was defined as music with soul to it. You know what I mean? Very musical but very melodic, and very, groovy, where a little jazzy. A lot of what we hear nowadays is pretty much like the techno music, which derived from initially the back in the days in the 80s. They were doing all of the electronica music pretty much in the era of like the UK. So there's a lot of controversy about what house music really is, but as far as house music, the Charm City era, Charm City is the name that Baltimore has always been called, because obviously back in the days, early like 70s, the 80s, Baltimore was alive. The clubs were all jumping. The city itself was just booming. You know what I mean? It was always a place to go. But for me, like I said, I ain't coming to Baltimore until 1978 or 79. So really, the 80s was pretty much my time, but I was all about hip hop at the time. So at the time I grew up on, like I said, the legendary, DJ Terry T, and my big homie who often is forgot about, the infamous DJ Charlie Crush, you know what I'm saying, who I learned listening to, who I came up primarily listening to, learning how to scratch and, and everything, and I learned that. So again, you got other pioneers, DJ Dangerous D, you had, God rest the soul of, DJ Vicious V, you had CJ Fresh. They were old school DJs that I came up around on the west side. So, but as far as house music goes, you know what I mean? It was basically when I would go to the actual, mall in Mondawmin, so I would hear, Tommy Davis, from the Basement Boys, who's pretty much just a icon, with the house music, and to me, I wasn't into it at the time, but it was very infectious to listen to, and you were drawn into it very easy. It took you to a different place. But that's just hearing it in the record store, you know what I mean? But for me specifically, the experience of house music really hit me when I first actually went to a club called Club Fantasy, and Club Fantasy was a club I wasn't even old enough to get into, but I had my cousins and stuff. We would go to, in a club called Godfrey's, in Baltimore on the east side, and actually Club Fantasies was literally around the corner, on Howard Street from there. So that was a club that stayed open from 12 to 6 in the morning. Godfrey's, pretty much was the club that opened like maybe like 10, and then they closed at 2 o'clock. You know what I mean? So we would leave Godfrey's early to go Club Fantasies, but it was a different world totally. So for me, house music scene and the culture, there was a lot of, again, a lot of, gay people in the club, but I couldn't tell because it was so dark, you know what I mean? But the association with, the gay community or lesbian community and house music has always been. I mean, it's no different than disco in the 80s, but for me, it was about the music and it was about the freedom of everyone in there, you know what I mean? So it was just about the music to me. It's always been about the music, something that the music did, you could go in there, you didn't have to worry about doing the most, elegant dances or the most, hyped up dances. You could just go in there and vibe. The vibe was absolutely just majestic, with house music. And the funny thing is, I was all about hip hop. So I was exposed to that, you know what I mean? And that was during the 80s at Club Fantasy. So hearing that feeling and the music and feeling that feeling, remembering that vibe, with me being an innovator, creating the music, it's one thing to be able to listen to music, but it's another thing to be able to create it. House music and club music are totally different. You know what I mean? House music is pretty much based on the soul and the vibe. You know what I mean? Without any tricks or any type of like hooks or any type of samples. And you can sample and you can replay a lot of stuff in house, but house is just a whole vibe where you just start from scratch. And I'll go ahead and show you how I actually produce house music, just from the top and just how I vibe. So, you know, in hip hop, you know, it helped me create my label New Level Entertainment. And of course, you know, you experiment with the producing and the production and stuff like that. But it was just an everyday thing for me. Kept me off the street. I wasn't out there selling drugs. You know, I had homies out there who was selling drugs and stuff like that that would come in the studio, do a couple rap verses. You know, I would produce for them. So my safe haven was always my music and, you know, producing. And I always had the dream of having people listen to my joint, you know, in the club and just looking at them, you know, just go absolutely bananas, like, yo, this the jam. You know, that was my dream. But it was something more when I actually started producing house music. And house music, you know, I started producing that in 2006. I still do hip hop, you know, R&B, and you know, all the other production that I do, me and my partner DJ Fella. But the house music did something to me, man, and it just amazed me how a lot of people, you know, don't even know about the house music culture in Baltimore, as far as I know. Now, the house music culture is a circuit, you know what I mean? And it's a circuit where if you know, you know. But I can't really name a lot of house music producers in Baltimore other than like somebody like Tommy Davis or, you know, Neil Conway from the Basement Boys. You know, they just names I know, but I've seen them before. But, you know, there's, I'm sure, a lot of house producers, but again, with the culture of Baltimore club music, you know, which is pretty much the real aggressive, rough pace, you know, banging music, which kind of derives from hip hop samples or now just different chants, you know, and I think that has taken the forefront, and house music seems to have taken like a background to that, when I feel like the club music derived from house music. It did, you know. And truth be told, I've had this discussion with my big homie DJ Charlie Crush when I you know, thank God I got a chance to interview him. I mean, what was the Charm City era like for you? Because I was kind of young, you know, and as far as the house music, you know, what the culture was like, you know.
I mean, when I started mixing, period, I started with hip hop. So,
Right.
so I mean, I say hip hop, but basically me at that time, 84, 85, 86, I was playing everything. So like, you know, like I told you before, there was no, I mean, yeah, you had your rap, but as far as for me, house, underground, that nature, I didn't know nothing about it. My whole thing was mixing. So at that time, I really didn't know that aspect of it until way later. So 86, 87, I pretty much same thing, playing everything. You know, I might just play hip hop this day. I might just play club type stuff that really wasn't really called club type stuff as far as I was concerned. And people that, you know, that was around me.
Right.
I mean, we playing Planet Rock.
Right.
Planet Rock, Numbers, Play at Your Own Risk,
Right.
Cheap Thrills, things of that nature.
Right.
They call it now electronic music or electro house, things of that nature. Back then, it was breakdance music. I mean, so it had different names to it.
Right.
You know, so whoever categorized it, they categorized it. Like I said, you might have been playing 122, BPM 122, and then you might end up playing Numbers. You may be playing Don't You Want Me Baby, you know, all that. I mean, like even now, you could use Don't You Want Me Baby. You can use that in a house.
Right.
You know, so everything gets over. Like you got your hip hop house. Everything evolved into something else. Like I said, but at that time, we was already playing everything.
House Nation is just a universal term, like I said, that was a song that derived from Chicago. So House Nation wasn't just a song, it was pretty much a movement and a culture that went from Chicago it hit New York, you know, and of course we were probably 3 years later after they had already started house music in Chicago. But again, it was all about what we did with the house. It was about what we put our spin on it with. We didn't try to change it. We just tried to preserve the actual integrity of what house music is, and that's why I wanted to actually do this documentary. It was hard as hell, you know. The pandemic pretty much put everything to, you know, shit, and you know, I've been trying real hard to do it. You know, I was subconscious, the way I still am now. But with everybody who died, like I said, God bless Reggie Reg and his family, you know, DJ K Swift, you know, people like JB the Baldhead Wonder. These are people you should know or may not even know, you know. And I think that there's still a lot of legends around, like DJ Mark Henry. He is an icon with straight house music. You know what I mean? House. He didn't DJ club music. He DJ'd house. So I remember Mark Henry, you know, and I was blessed enough to talk to him, you know, and, you know, we were going to get up and meet, you know, where I could sit down and interview him. But, you know, life gets in the way, you know what I'm saying? And we talk, not just like, yo, can I interview you or something like that. I sat down and, you know, talked to him just like I talked to the big homie Charlie Crush, you know what I mean? I wanted to reach out to people that I knew were solid people, not people that was kind of on their Hollywood, you know, mode and everything, you know. And Mark Henry, definitely a real one, you know. Life got in the way, you know, with me, you know, going through a lot of depression and taking care of my two boys, one of them autistic, you know, and just trying to maintain a focus to just make it every day, you know. Prayer works, you know, but what prayer doesn't work, there has to be something else that God gives us. And God, you know, he gave me the God-given gift of innovation to create stuff, you know. So I said, why not do the documentary? You know, it's important. It has a social, economical impact and a relevance to Baltimore, you know what I mean, in regards to not only the house music culture, but just the social, you know, economic culture that went from making us Charm City back in the day to now Baltimore and Murderland, you know what I mean, where people only think of The Wire when they see us, you know. And everybody who should be telling the story is dead and gone. That's the thing that really put a state of urgency on my heart to do this, because I said I got the label, I'm doing my little independent thing with my partner DJ Fella. We got the video camera equipment, we produce, we actually direct, we actually do the documentaries like docuseries, we do the podcast, we do it all. And a lot of people are doing their thing in Baltimore too. So I said, why not do it? Because I felt like there was a void that needed to be filled with the actual culture of house music and talking about it from a Baltimore standpoint. And again, like I said, they had a documentary that came out called Dark City Beneath the Beat, you know what I mean? And I think it came out maybe recently last year. It came out on Netflix, and now everybody seems to be doing a documentary kind of like about club music, you know what I mean, in Baltimore. And it's funny, the club music scene is totally different from house music.
Baltimore club music / house era has changed throughout the years, you know, as far as Baltimore, and how people kind of get it mixed up with Baltimore club being house and house being Baltimore club. It's two separate things. I just want to explain it to you that like the Baltimore club is more of a breakbeat era, which we've been banging this since the late 80s into the 90s and so on and so on. You know, some people said it died down after K Swift died. She was one of the true female pioneers that was on the radio doing, you know, some the club music with the youth. But all of us play it. All of us, we bang it. I mean, you can't do a party here in Baltimore without playing something. You know, house music was definitely still in that same era, coming up on. You can go to this city, our city, and hear whatever you want to hear, basically. You know, you had the Basement Boys coming up, you know, Teddy and all that, you know what I mean? And we were just I was banging everything out, man. It didn't matter what it was. I kept it flowing, and that's what I do. And if you see me at a party or joint, I'm doing many genres of that music. Um, but I just want to get some clarity because a lot of people get it mixed up. Even when I'm, selling the CDs and the flash drives, that they'll say, I want to hear some of the club music, and I might give them the club music, but then they don't want. I don't want that. Then I give them the house music. Oh, that's what I want. No, that's what you asked for. You want house music. That's not Baltimore club music. That's the house music. Being as though one thing that keeps it separate is, man, have the hi hats like tss, tss. That's what kind of make it house. With the that's kind of make it club music. So that's how I kind of separate it when I'm mixing it, a lot. And yeah, that's basically the difference, man. But we still doing our thing. What I mean, our city still got the producers, R.E.T.R.O, etc., etc., doing their thing, banging this type of music. What I mean? And shouts out to everybody in my city that's doing their thing. All the producers in the city. I can't name all of y'all, but the major ones: Basement Boys, Raw Lead Techniques, Unruly, New Level Entertainment. Everybody out there. There's just Dookie Man. You got so many people that's still doing their thing here in the city. And I can't name everybody, but look, check it out. Shouts out to everybody that's repping Baltimore because I'm all for Baltimore. That's what it is.
Ideally, this documentary was in the works. This House Nation, the Charm City era documentary, it was in the work for literally 6 years. The issue was, okay, there were copyright issues with the music, you know what I mean, which we own all of our own music, which is fine, but there was also the political issue of who do we get in the interview if we sit them down, you know what I mean, why are we sitting them down, is it their contribution to, the Baltimore house music scene. I remember we had the conversation about when I told him that, look, I said, yo, most people don't even realize that there wasn't a hip hop scene or hip hop culture in Baltimore before there was a house music culture. There was a house music culture, which basically was in the clubs and everything, but of course at that time you may have had like the disco era. You had a lot of different local groups in Baltimore. A lot of them in Baltimore is known for a lot of jazz and a lot of like soul music, and even with that you don't get a lot of recognition like you should with a lot of legendary singers. Like a lot of the other people don't even understand the culture that Baltimore has with music period. Like Cab Calloway, used to live here, you know what I mean, Billie Holiday, I could go on. But my purpose of doing this documentary was specifically for the house music culture because it's just something that needs to be, broadcasted. Because right now, house music is worldwide, and every country has their own rendition. UK has it. It's electronica. They have Dutch house. They have all kinds of house. They have African tribal house, which is huge now. You know what I mean? Which is kind of running things. But again, like I said, I wanted to chronicle the Charm City era as I remember it. You know what I mean? And I also wanted to reach out to people throughout the interview, that I did interview. Like I said, my big homie Charlie Crush, my homie DJ Rich, and I wanted to actually get with the homie Grant Boo Man, you know what I mean, who pretty much knows about that culture of house music, and he was in hip hop like I was, you know what I mean? And of course you got, people like Sean Caesar, and you got of course Scotty B. I went to school with him. I'm just naming a few names of people I personally know. You know what I'm saying? Well, with the exception of Boo Man, because Boo Man, we've seen each other once or twice, but we never really sat down and chopped it up. But he's one of the real ones. I can definitely say that. And I just wanted to put something in perspective about Baltimore being more than just the foundation of what people see commercially, like the club music. I want them to know before you know, the club music even existed, the very foundation and the icon who was a very powerful, influential icon in it was, you know, just a local guy, you know, God rest his soul, you know, Big Tony. You know what I mean? And Big Tony at the time, Big Tony was just a regular old Baltimore dude from Park Heights, you know. He was a club head. You know, he always went to the club, and I know Big Tony, what they call him Miss Tony, but they call him Big Tony. But I remember Big Tony, and I only got introduced to Big Tony when I went to Club Fantasy, because I could always remember Big Tony being in the club, and it would be dark and you couldn't see anybody. But Big Tony had a distinctive trademark chant. You know what I'm saying? Like the singing, he would go hoo 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 hoo, you know, and you could hear his voice with the loud house music banging out of them 1,000-watt speakers, and it was just something that was iconic that I can't really understand why people will forget him. But I think that it was important to mention names like that, because a lot of those names are forgotten. You know, of course, a lot of the younger generation, they know of like DJ K Swift, but you got to remember there was always the Godfather, you know, DJ Reggie Reg, rest in peace, you know. And the thing is, rest in peace K Swift, you know. But again, those are just names that I'm dropping, but there is a history behind all these names, and I don't feel qualified to tell you about the history of the names, but I came up in the era, the Charm City era, of what I know house music to be. I've learned that the only thing that you can do is tell your own story, and, you know, give credit where credit is due. But if you don't know the people that you're asking to interview, then a lot of times it becomes a conflicting thing where you just kind of put people in front of the camera just because you can, as opposed to gaining a relationship with those individuals. You know what I mean? And for me, the people that I name, like I said, like, you know, Mark Henry, I can say that I've established a relationship with bro. I know of him. I've been in his store. I reached back out to him. My homie DJ Rich knows him, you know. Big homie Crush, that's love right there. Crush has supported me for years, you know what I mean? He supported my music all the time. And Crush is one of those low-key DJs that he does it for the love, and he's an icon. So again, for me to reach out to Crush and him to come and sit down with an interview, that was humbling to me, man. You know, but it was just something that, you know, I wanted to do, and I wanted it to be my contribution to Baltimore, you know, house music, you know, because I hadn't seen a documentary about the culture of Baltimore house music. Again, I just wanted to talk about the perspective of Baltimore from the era of Charm City, which is kind of like the 80s or late 70s, 80s, around that time, you know what I mean? And that was the Charm City era, and it was a beautiful time, and I think those times are long gone, but the music, as far as from what I remember, you know, it was all about just really understanding that it was a moment in time. It was an era for us, you know. And I think that era, with us being older and me being blessed to see 50, you know, it's really something that I needed to actually talk about, because again, our legends are gone. You know, the few that are here, some of them, like I said, when life gets in the way, some of them are, you know, just living life, you know, and it's a good thing. But it's also a great thing to be remembered for your contribution of what you've done, you know, and that's what this documentary pretty much is all about.
And craziest thing I saw at a house party before, years ago, and this one I knew it was serious. I saw a dancer take some regular baby powder, sprinkle it on the floor, and got the dancing around in the powder, and was gliding around. I said, dang.
Whoa.
I said, that's some serious shit.
Yeah, that's house right there.
That's
for real.
house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, the young dude, or the older guy that was dancing, You could just tell he was in a zone. And the music that was playing was touching his energy, his soul.
Right.
It was almost spiritual. So my thing is I'm looking around the club and everybody else vibing, and nobody's really paying attention to him because that must have been normal.
Right.
That must have been normal for him to get down like that.
Right.
Like, oh, he over there getting into his groove.
Right.
That's deep.
Yeah,
it was deep
crazy.
to me because I'm like, damn.
Yep. And that's the beautiful part of house music. You don't need a formula to actually do it. All you need is the vibe and the tempo, and you just need the actual spirit of freedom to make something uplifting, you know. And that's what house music is. It's uplifting, you know what I mean? It's spiritually moving, it's motivating, you know. And that's what house music does for me. It basically gives me a realm of freedom, complete freedom and autonomy to just be free and just to actually have a moment in time of serenity, a moment in time of clarity, a moment in time of not release or liberation. It is for some, but primarily for me, just listening to the house music and just the process of me creating it and then listening to it, especially if I'm just in my car, and God forbid if I'm in a club or anywhere that has a nice sound system, the vibe and the beautiful energy just transfers out of those speakers, you know. And with house music, you know, as far as the Charm City era goes, the music is all that matters. And that's what it comes down to. So I hope that I do, you know, all the pioneers justice, and I'm humbled that I'm able to do it, and I thank God that I got the resources to do it like what I'm doing now. So that's what made me really want to get this done, man. But it's still hard, and I still kind of get butterflies about, you know, dang, you know, I wish I could have got more people in it, but that's okay because, like I said, this is just the documentary, you know, about the, you know, perspective of what I've grown up to have in the house music era of Baltimore, which is the Charm City era that I'm speaking of. And for everybody that may actually come back after they see the documentary, you know, we have the docu-series following this because I know that I can't possibly chronicle everything in a documentary, but my intent was to just give it a start, and then as other people came along, as I sat down and talked to them, you know, afterwards, you know, we would do the actual docu-series, because the docu-series is going to be in different episodes, and it'll be the first and second season, you know, after this actual documentary. So again, it gives everyone who we missed in the documentary that we couldn't possibly get, it gives everyone a chance to be able to tell a story. And that's what New Level Entertainment is all about, man. We're all about creating a platform to be able to tell the stories that people who need to be recognized are no longer here to tell, you know. And it seems like after you're gone, people just forget you. But we want to make sure that we preserve the memory and the legacy of not just the music culture in Baltimore, but the house music culture specifically, because house music has been so powerful and impactful. There's not one person in the city who's a famous artist or anybody that can't say that they didn't in some form or fashion know about house or club music or whatever. But house music is what I'm talking about. The club music was pretty much derived from the creation of house music, you know, and a lot of people may argue that to be wrong, but again, you know, because every category of music that maybe in Baltimore they've done, a lot of categories of music didn't get the proper attention that they should have. Not the old school soul music at that time. They were just considered local artists, fly-by artists, but they were iconic, you know, and they didn't get the attention that they deserved. So
I feel like they should get it now. Just like I feel like the house music and the house music culture in Baltimore should get it now. You know, it's all good that the Baltimore club music scene is popping and everything's banging for the youth, and that's all great. But somebody had to chronicle the House Nation and Charm City era documentary, and I said, why not let it be New Level Entertainment? You know, we have the ability to do it. Everybody might not like it, but what we basically do is we just put it out there, and most of all, we put it out there with the right integrity, and we put it out there with honesty. And the honesty is what I want to make sure that we capture, because again, a lot of things in our city, like all of the crime and all of the bad statistics of murder, they seem to be exploited by a lot of people, you know, just to get views and attention and ratings, you know. And I think it's messed up because it's not a good integrity for our city. It may be real, but promoting it and actually, you know, glorifying the actual bad in the city is not good for the integrity of the city, especially when we're trying to build it back up and preserve the legacy that we already have. It's just an unknown legacy. So this is why I had to do this documentary, you know, and I hope people are blessed by it. But I thank God for being able to do it, complete it, you know, and I hope you know, enjoy it most of all. But you know, just random clips of just messing around, you know, not just DJing, but with interviews with one or two people. But yeah, man, it was hard for me to do this because it's a lot of people I wish that were here that are gone. They're dead now, you know. I'm 50, and it's like they didn't make it past 50, and the ones that were older than me may have been maybe 5 years, 6 years older than me, and I felt like they should have lived longer than they did. But you know, obviously, like I said, this is not about just the music. This is about the impact and the reason that music means everything to us. You know, we everyday people, we still 9 to 5, we go to work, we come home, we got the studio stuff. This is our sanctuary right here, you know, when we do this music. So this is not just a phase or a fad. This is what we do, just like jazz musicians play their actual, you know, instruments. They play it because it's a part of them. And that's what this is. And that's primarily above everything what the House Nation, the Charm City era documentary is about. It's about us.
We've lost loved ones, legends, and icons that go on to be forgotten as the generations pass. And that's because for some, there truly was no value of who they were to begin with. They seemed to only matter when they were here to give us something that we couldn't give ourselves, which was an inspiration in life that we never seemed to have without them in our lives. They were blessings from God, sent by God. So it was only right they go back to God. There's a saying, learn to appreciate what you have before life makes you appreciate what you had. And despite all the tragedy and precious lives lost in the city of Baltimore, there's one thing that we still and will forever have, and that's the music, which is the spirit and the voice of us, past, present, and future, our eternal soul transmitting through sound, a universal language, which is the expression of our joy, pain, and anguish. So music is literally eternal life for us, and eternal life can only come from God, and that's why for us, the music is all that matters.
Heal this world from its scorning. Pray for souls that need love. Joy cometh in the morning through the Lord's redeeming love. Heal this world from its scorning. Pray for souls that need love. Joy cometh in the morning through the Lord's redeeming love. Now I'm free and my mentality is and my mentality is in love with being loved. Now I see true love undoubtedly is in love with being loved. Now I'm free and my mentality